Welcome to the Good Old Days of Radio show. This is John Tefteller, your host. We are rolling through a great tribute to the great Norman Corwin, the poet laureate of CBS Radio back in the 1930s and 40s. Today we have an episode of the Columbia Workshop, which was a very early program that did a lot of interesting drama. And Corwin, that was where he got his start, is writing for shows like this. This one is from April 24th, 1939. It's called Seems Radio is Here to Stay, with narration by Martin Gable, the great Martin Gable, who appeared with Orson Welles on The War of the Worlds and all kinds of other programs. And I think Martin Gable is in Citizen Kane with Orson Welles, etc. Anyway, this is the first production of that show, Seems Radio is Here to Stay. It was produced again a few times, including on Columbia Presents Corwin later on in the run in 1945 in particular. So this is the original version from April 24th, 1939, and it's all about radio. And radio was here to stay in 1939, and it's 2025 and radio's still here. Yay, so far. It doesn't look or feel or sound anything like radio did in 1939, but yeah, it's still here. So here we go.
We come on you unaware, your set untended. Do you put down your paper to lift up an ear, to spend what you were just about to say, or stay the fingertip that could snap shut the traps of night between us? Were you expecting us? Your dial deputized to let us in at 30 minutes after 10 along the seaboard on the east, 9:30 inland by 1,000 miles, a mountains 8:30, and dinner dishes still uncleared on shores that face Japan? In either case, good evening, or good afternoon, good morning, or good night, whichever best becomes the sector of the sky arched over your antenna. We wish 1,000 words with you concerning magics that would make a Merlin turn pistachio with envy. The miracle, worn ordinary now, of just such business as this. Between your ears and us and ocean tides of ether, we mean the genii of radio, kowtowing to Aladdin's everywhere, as flashy on the run as light, and full of services to ships at sea and planes in air and people in their living rooms resembling you. All this by way of prologue, listener, and prologues should not be prolonged. Let our announcer do what he's engaged to do, announce what this is all about. And let there be, when he's done, some interest expressed by brasses and by strings. A little music, as they say, to start an introspective program on its way.
The Columbia Workshop presents an original verse brochure by Norman Corwin entitled Seems Radio is Here to Stay, and dedicated to the current campaign of the National Association of Broadcasters to acquaint the public with the uses and resources of radio.
That will take care of overtures and prologues for tonight. You'd think that we were warming up to something slightly mighty in the way of melodrama, magniloquent with love and hate, with sacrifice and sin, repentance and with sound effects, or else you'd think that we were mobilizing moods to make way for an epic chronicling a war. But no. But neither. As we said before, we are here to talk of radio.
Say, mister, what do you mean by we?
You wonder at the pronoun we? Well, Radio's collective. No one in it's indispensable. The proof begins right here. Just watch and see how neatly your narrator is dispensed with. Come, take it from me, you who stand nearby. Speak on of us and radio.
It's taken, and we speak. Let's start by setting forth that it is good to take a swig of fancy every now and then, a nip or two of wonderment to jag the mind. It's good to send your thoughts excursioning beyond the paved and well-worn alleys of your life, if only as a form of exercise, especially in wanton days like this. The fashion now is to wonder on such things as whether London phrases will displease Berlin, or how the Romans will react to the reaction of the French, and who's the enemy of whom, and has he guns enough to run a war for more than 30 days? In times like these, when headlines blaze their blackest, and the heavens crackle with short-wave details of peace's latest coma, there's little fitness for the luxury of contemplations on the majesty of man. And yet, it serves a momentary antidote for toxins of the soul to think away from crises, to think that even for man's monkeying with mania and murder, he's still a noble article, bound round by marvels of all manner. Do you remember what it was that Whitman said about the miracles? Come in, Walt Whitman, and refresh our memories. Come in and bring with you a snatch of music of the spheres.
I believe a leaf of grass is no less than the journey work of the stars, and the narrowest hinge in my hand puts to scorn all machinery, and the cow crunching with depressed head surpasses any statue, and a mouse is miracle enough to stagger sextillions of infidels.
You call these wonders, Whitman? Well, they are. And we'll agree they put to scorn most all machinery. And yet no field mouse in Vermont, by his own talents, ever squeaked a squeak heard with distinctness in Australia. Nor has a cow of any breed devised a means of mooing in a three-way conversation with two other cows in distant pasture land. Here is machinery for you, Walt, to tickle the imaginings of all the poets in the world. We speak now of the innards of this radio, the dials, filaments, and microphones, the crystals, coils, and rheostats, and rectifying tubes and towers that inject the sky with certain ectoplasms. And there where you sit listening, O listener, the sentinels inside your set, selecting, sifting strands of ether, letting pass that only which it pleases you to hear. Let's see the gods do better. There they vie with engineers of radio. It is to laugh. The fulminating thunderclaps of Jove sound beepish just to count his breadth away, whereas the mildest microphonic whisperings, like this,
Hello, Antipodes.
go spinning round the globe, not once but 7 times within the twinkling of a mouse's eye. And on its way, mark well the point, unswerved by all 4 winds, dissolving in no mists, unfrozen by contacts with glaciers, undrowned in any deeps, and never tangled in a jungle's undergrowth. Nor can the frowning Himalayas range on range, but even momentarily intimidate our whispering. The Himalayas, did we say? Why, the planet proper. Yes, the earth itself, its ingrown mountains and its scoriac seas still hot and smoking from creation, a solid enough shape to penetrate, and yet
Hello, Antipodes.
thrust through the earth as clean as would a guillotine through cheesecake. Indeed, the ground has ears. Perhaps, for all we know, this is telephony with buried listeners. If all a planet's denseness cannot stop our whisperings, will then mere coffin walls? We hardly think so. We will make our microphone directional and speak to whom we please. Oh, Beethoven! Oh, Ludwig! Have you got your hearing back? We call your hallowed bones. We shout. Do we disturb your dust? How restful is your rest there in Vienna, anyway? Death is too long a leisure, we suspect, for one of such invention. You must be out assembling harmonies somewhere. But listen, master. Hear. There are more ears attending you tonight than ever you imagined could perceive a note. And all at once, this instant, more by millions than you ever saw in continents of concert halls. Your music gets around these days. On plains, on mountains, and on shores you never heard of, you are heard tonight. Your music beats against the sounding board of stars. It flows in raptures down spillways of space. It sweeps precisely in the pattern you set down across immensity. You see, Beethoven? You have not been changed by so much as a hemi-demi-semi-quaver. Let's turn our microphone and hail a hunk of loam in Stratford. Oh, Shakespeare! William Shakespeare! We are calling from a land you would like to be acquainted with. 4 dozen federated states in North America, not far from those Bermudas that you wrote about. Here are new Venices and Elsinores, new Athenses and Troys, New Englands and New Londons and New Yorks, where you are better known than all the kings in Britain's history. Your language trips upon the lips of schoolboys, lovers, soldiers, justices, and lean and slippered pantaloons. You stand with Bibles on our shelves and are as often quoted as a savior.
Hanging is too good for him.
Well, you have to give the devil his due.
The course of true love never did run smooth.
It was Greek to me.
He eats me out of heart and home. Why don't you send him packing?
It's a wise father that knows his own son.
I pause for a reply.
It smells to heaven.
I'll tell the world.
Sweets to the sweet.
I'm nothing if not critical.
Dead as a doornail.
Uneasy lies the head that wears the crown.
3 1/4 centuries ago, tomorrow afternoon, they put you in a tomb. Since then, the world has cracked a little at the seams, and nations have been crossed and double-crossed, and many generals have died in peace, and many peaceful people died in war, and arts and attitudes and sciences grown stale, and ancient gods turned gangrenous, and yet there's not a trace of mold about your poetry. Your plays flash undiminished lightnings, and more so now than ever, for the theater has grown to take in all the stages of the land, all villages and hamlets, cabins hard to get to, houses high on hills and islands where the ferry plies but once a week, lone trapper in the woods, and ranger on the range, and lighthouse keeper polishing his glass. They all can hear you now within the compass of this voice. Your audience has grown. They hear you well in Louisville, Orlando, Reno, Buffalo, Toronto, San Antonio, in Wheeling and Duluth, in Wichita and Washington, in Birmingham and Utica, in Chattanooga, Baltimore, and Colorado Springs.
They hear you well in Louisville, Orlando, Reno, Buffalo, Toronto, San Antonio, and Wheeling and Duluth, in Wichita and Washington, in Birmingham and Utica, in Chattanooga, Baltimore, and Colorado Springs.
Shakespeare, it may well flatter you to learn all modern actors want to play your Hamlet. These much-mingled Americans wish hotly to personify a royal Dane created by an English butcher's son. Well, who are we to stand between ambition and the act? One plays him now forthwith, a fragment passionate and murderous and fatal to Polonius. Remember it? Attend For Hamlet enters now the closet of the queen. Polonius is hid behind the arras.
Now, Mother, what's the matter?
Hamlet, thou hast thy father much offended.
Mother, you have my father much offended.
Come, you answer with an idle tongue.
Go, you question with a wicked tongue.
Why, how now, Hamlet?
What's the matter now?
Have you forgotten me?
No, by the rude... Not
This Hamlet was not advertised tonight, and yet a multitude is listening. More than they seated at the Globe in London, incidentally, and none sits in the balcony. The seats of radio are row A center, and the tickets always complimentary.
What wilt thou do? Thou wilt not murder me. Help! Help, ho!
Oh, help, help, help!
How now? A rat? Dead for a ducat, dead.
I am slain.
Oh, me, what hast thou done?
Nay, I know not. Is the king?
Oh, what a rash and bloody deed is this.
A bloody deed. Almost as bad, good mother, as kill a king and marry with his brother.
As kill a king.
Aye, lady, 'twas my word.
You were an actor, Will. You know a play does not spring suddenly from floorboards unrehearsed or drop full-blown and edited from heaven. It must be written first, then cast, directed, and produced. And when it's done by radio, it must be engineered. How else can Hamlet rant in Honolulu as he rants right here? This is a question for the engineers. Their language has a listenable cadence of its own, to wit,
I'm getting a low-frequency tone. Will you check to see where it's coming from?
Oh, such a deed as from the body of contraction plucks the very soul.
The SC filter is set for cutoff at 200 cycles.
Heaven's face doth glow. Yea, the solidity and compound mass.
Hastings reporting for workshop, Studio 1, 10:30 to 11 p.m. Here's your test.
Thick at the act.
Ay, me. What act that roars so loud and thunders in the index?
Look here.
Columbia Workshop going local. New York State, North Round Robin, except RR5, Dixie RR19, W2XC, piped dead strong.
Grace was seated on this brow. Hyperion's curl.
poor Hamlet. He has never been so interrupted. He is making such a scene behind our engineers, it seems a pity to obtrude. Obtrude? Why, come to think of it, our Mr. Hastings has more venom at his fingertips than the assassin Laertes upon his sword. The turning of a dial can efface our Hamlet quicker than a most incisive foil. Stand by to hear a Dane evaporate.
Is your husband, like a mildewed ear, blasting his wholesome brother. Have you eyes?
Go, rest now, Hamlet. You've been around the world and back, and in a million homes, and in the tomb of him who gave you utterance. We've faded you and been discourteous, and that's enough. So thanks. So long. Goodbye. We'll meet again someday in some such pleasant studio as this. A little music, please, for a departing royal gentleman.
Say, mister.
Yes, sir?
What kind of a radio program is this without sound effects?
This is a verse brochure, sir.
Well, what's a verse brochure?
Why, this is.
Oh, very definite. I see I get no satisfaction.
But you do indeed. You wish some sound effects? Let this instruct your curiosity.
Now, what is this?
A horseman of apocalypse.
But only one? Where are the other three?
This one is Conquest, and he's riding harder than the other three right now. He has outdistanced them. Now would you hear the bravest bird in all the world?
How's that again?
Here is a bird who talks right back to thunder. Give an ear. Now would you hear Niagara's cataract roaring with 100,000 lion power? Come in, Niagara! Oh, shame! Oh, shame! Niagara trickles like 3 drops of rain which have joined forces down a window pane. What fell anemia is this? What drought has been at work on you? Alas, alas, Niagara.
Now, I've heard enough. Which way did Hamlet exit?
Right through there.
I follow.
Good listeners, there is a delicacy in the fact that all things delicate were once exceeding crude. The orchid can be traced to low beginnings. The raw material of men is dust, of diamonds lampblack. The vast mainsprings of time which keep the very stars to their appointments were forged, no doubt, out of some coarse galactic ore. But here's the point we're getting to. That radio itself, so delicately tuned in time, transmitted and received, is too compounded of base clays and perspiration, plans and graphs and conferences, instruments and agencies whose labor is unheard, unseen, unsung. They serve the industry and you with intimacies equal to the service of the trunk unto the tree, the wrist unto the hand, the service of the letter to the word, the figure to the total. If you are skeptic, here is testimony swarming from transmitter tips.
Well, now you take me. I'm a cabinet maker working in that factory across the river. We make cabinets for radio sets.
And naturally, since I'm national sales representative of 16 of the country's biggest stations, I certainly have every reason to be consulted when the occasion calls.
Columbia Broadcasting System, WEEI. Mr. Fellows, just a minute, please.
And I was picked out of 50 in the audition. It's a contract for 52 weeks, and I play the lead. Of course, they won't let me have any conflicts because
I'm engaged in the manufacture of porcelain water coils and porcelain pipe for carrying water to radio tubes and transmitting stations. We turn out an average
experience as a lawyer practicing before the Federal Communications Commission, I have many times represented applicants for a license.
Yes, sir. I'll have this report typed up in about 5 minutes.
Now, it really takes very little salesmanship in my line. Why, we make the finest antenna
Gilbert, I'm
impedance
sorry.
matching
I'm
units
working
and
late on the
dielectric-
script tonight. You'd better try to exchange the tickets for Wednesday night. Yes. What? Well, the script's got to be ready for typing tomorrow morning.
I'll get an estimate on a program tomorrow. Talent course, director, music, sound, scripts, right. Sounds like a very good show tomorrow.
Oh, Sunday night I don't work, but I come in 10 o'clock every night, wash floors of 15, 16 floors, sometimes go...
Sound. Bring up the train effect behind the narrator and don't start fading until after Q 118 on page 23. Carpenter, will you please work a little closer to the mic in your scene with Miss Kett? All right, everybody.
And we are adding to the curriculum for the spring term a course in radio writing by the head of the script division of the...
Do you want that recorded on 78s or 33s? Okay, then. I'll start the cut on phone cue from you.
All right, gentlemen. Now take it from the letter C. 10, 11, 12 measures. And I'd like a little more brass, please. And much heavier afterbeat. All right?
Here are the toils, the hopes, anxieties, the deals, the overtime put in, wages and hours, clauses in the contract, cornerstones laid down, floors scrubbed and phone calls answered, memoranda written, figures added up, paychecks distributed, and inquiries and answers.
Here is the budget and the copyright release, the time clock and the elevator guard, the whistle in the factory proclaiming noon, the yes and no and sorry, try again. The date for lunch, the swell idea, the new man coming in next Monday, and the program ending on the nose.
Here is transmitter tone and rosin for the bow, and sales gone up by 22%.
Here is an industry built out of air and cyclical vibrations, primed high to entertain, instruct, and serve the common weal.
So much for our side, here where studios surround. And now for you, who sit at home, or ride in cars, or hear us visiting a friend. You are the critic and the judge, the mighty ear, the twister of the dial knob. You rule the wavelength by selection. Do you like it this way? Thank you, this way it shall be. You like it that? Then that. We broadcast not to cabbages and walruses. We do not throw our signals at the moon, but aim for you and watch to see if we have made a hit.
Say, mister.
Yes, sir?
I rather like this kind of program, but my wife doesn't. She prefers drama and variety shows.
Well, as for me, I don't care so much for variety shows, but I sure love the baseball games and the quiz program.
Myself, I never missed a symphony. For the last 6 months, I've been following that grand serial that comes right after the news in the morning. My son likes to hear the baseball, but I never got around to learning what the game's all about.
Oh, give me swing any time. Boy, that Artie sure is something. In the groove. Hey, Hank.
Well, frankly, I don't like swing. Most of all, I like to hear the news come over, especially Mr. Kaltenborn's interpretation.
My little boy always wants to hear that cowboy program at dinner time, but my daughter Betty gets into a fight with him because she wants to hear that Let's Pretend program, that fairy tales. So I finally had to get 2 radios to keep peace in the family. Bill, that's my husband, he likes to hear the sports and politics, but not for me. Well, everybody's entitled to his own opinion, I always say.
Thank all the heavens and the gods for differences. Let men's opinions be as varied and as free to come and go as weather is. Like wind, spontaneous. Like storm, forthright. The saying is that difference of opinion makes the world go round. And that's a platitude you tip your hat to when you meet it on the street. You'll find where viewpoints must be such and such, or else. And opinion is smuggled out like contraband. In such a place, the world stops short and goes around no more. The world stands still because it is afraid to move. And liberties convulse for want of air. The air we listen to must be as free as that we breathe, or there will rise such dissonance and such cacophony as will stave in the eardrum, damn the very thought and stab it through. There'll be no muffing of the ear, no licking of the boot in this America. Come now, you men who make our music, beat that out in harmonies for all to hear. Think hard upon these words which tumble toward you through the night. The race of man is shrewd and silly, brutal and benign, and full of sudden starts and tardy reckonings. One day, when all the menacing is done with, and a man can wish another well across a borderline, his speech will sweeten. He will cast abroad such sentiments as should be radiated in the sky. Do you grant radio is here to stay? Then grant this further, that the mystic ethers were established well before the first word passed between 2 men. It's only latterly we've seen that speech is buoyant in these waves. A puff or 2 of years, that's all it is. There may this very moment be as close to us as one discoverer away, whole firmaments of stuffs awaiting comprehension. That we'll see about. Meanwhile, some homage to the High Commissioner who first assigned these frequencies to Earth, who marked these air lanes out. He is the same who fixed the stars in place, who set afire the sun and froze the moon and dug the furrows wherein oceans flow, who put some molecules together in a way to make a man. He holds the formula for genesis and death. His hand rests on a dial bigger than infinity. This microphone is not an ordinary instrument, but it looks out on vistas wide indeed. My voice commingles now with northern lights, an asteroid, an Alexander's skeleton, with dead volcanoes and with donkey's ears. It swims with minnows, and it's in the Sphinx's jaw. It drifts among whatever spirits pass across the night. Here is a thought to fasten to your throat. Who knows who may be listening and where?
You have been listening to the Columbia Workshop's production of Seems Radio is Here to Stay, an original verse brochure written and directed by Norman Corwin as one of Columbia's programs dedicated to the current campaign of the National Association of Broadcasters to acquaint the public with the uses and resources of radio. The principal narration was performed by House Jameson. The introductory narration and the role of Hamlet was played by Martin Gable, that of the Queen by Gladys Thornton. The original music was arranged and conducted by Bernard Herrmann. Next Monday evening at this same time, the Columbia Workshop will present 2 short plays in the usual half hour. Wet Saturday, a satire on murder by John Collier, and Private Throg, an original one-character comedy by Parker Fenley. You want to hear the best and newest radio has to offer. Your newspaper prints a daily timetable of radio programs for your convenience. This timetable is your guide to what you want to hear. Through this service, your newspaper enables you to make accurate selections, to listen intelligently, not haphazardly, and to plan your radio hours so as to get the greatest personal enjoyment from them. Consult your newspaper every day for radio programs. Your newspaper and your radio are your friends for news, for pleasure, for information. This is the Columbia Broadcasting System.
And that was Seems Radio is Here to Stay, April 24th, 1939. Columbia Workshop was the show, and that's, of course, Norman Corwin with music by Bernard Herrmann. All right, we will be back on Thursday, July 3rd, with a special presentation of We Hold These Truths. And if you think you've heard that before, you have, but I don't think you've heard this version because this is the rehearsal of that program. This is the actors sitting around rehearsing the program before it was actually broadcast. And those can be quite interesting. They usually have some flubs in them and different things. We'll see what this one has. But I don't think this is circulating around there in radio collecting land. So it'd be an exclusive for this show, and that's kind of fun to do that once in a while. So we shall be back on Thursday, wishing everyone a happy 4th of July with Norman Corwin's tribute, We Hold These Truths. See you then.